The news says the US and Israel are in a war with Iran. But, why?
It's a long story, Mia. And the strange thing is, when I was your age, things are very different.
You mean they were friends?
That's the secret most people forget, Mia. Before 1979, Israel and Iran were actually best friends.
But the news makes it sound like they have hated each other forever.
It feels that way now. But to understand the war today, we have to understand how a friendship turned into a Cold War, and why that Cold War just turned hot. Back in the 1950s and 60s, Israel was a brand new country, and most of its neighbors, the Arab nations, didn't want it to exist. Israel felt lonely and surrounded.
So they looked for friends further away?
Exactly. They called it the periphery doctrine. They made friends with the countries on the edges of the Middle East, like Iran. Back then, Iran was ruled by a king called the Shah. He wanted to modernize Iran and loved Western technology.
What did they do together?
Everything. Iran sold oil to Israel. Israel sent doctors and engineers to help Iran build farms. They even shared secret intelligence to keep each other safe. They were the two outsiders sticking together.
So what happened? Why did it stop?
In 1979, there was an Islamic revolution. The people in Iran were unhappy with the Shah. So, the Shah was overthrown and a religious leader named Ayatollah Khomeini took over. He had a very different view of the world.
The new leader didn't like Israel.
Exactly. He called the U.S. the Great Satan and Israel the Little Satan. He believed that Israel was an illegal occupier of Muslim lands and that Iran should be the champion of the Palestinian people. From that point on, Iran's official stance became one of total opposition to Israel's existence.
Did they go to war right then?
Not an open war. For 40 years, they fought a shadow war. Iran supported other groups, like Hezbollah and Hamas, to attack Israel. Israel used hackers and secret agents to stop Iran's nuclear labs, while the U.S. used economic sanctions to make Iran stop.
But why does that lead to a war now, in 2026?
Because over the last 40 years, three big issues kept growing like a fire that nobody could put out. First is the nuclear question. The U.S. and Israel are deeply worried about Iran's nuclear program. Iran says it's for energy, but the West fears they want a nuclear bomb. Israel sees a nuclear-armed Iran as an existential threat, meaning a threat to their very survival. Second is the proxy wars. Iran doesn't just fight directly. They support groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza. Israel and the U.S. see these groups as proxies used by Iran to attack them without a full-scale war. Last is the regional influence. It's like a giant chess game, Mia. Iran wants to be the main power in the Middle East. The U.S. wants to keep the region stable and protect their own interests and their allies, like Israel and Saudi Arabia.
I get why Israel is scared. But why is the US involved? It's so far away.
The U.S. have thousands of troops there and a massive interest in making sure oil flows freely through places like the Strait of Hormuz. If that gets blocked, the whole world's economy could crash. Plus, the U.S. is Israel's strongest ally. When one feels threatened, the other usually steps in.
Didn't they try to talk it out?
They did. In 2015, the world thought they had a solution. It was called the JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Iran agreed to limit its nuclear program and let international inspectors watch them 24/7. In return, the U.S. and Europe agreed to lift economic sanctions that were hurting Iran's economy.
So why didn't that work?
The U.S. said it wasn't tough enough on things like Iran's missiles, so they pulled out of the deal in 2018. After that, Iran is believed to start building up its nuclear program again, and the trust was gone.
It says here there were talks in Geneva and Oman before the war broke out. Could they have stopped this?
They tried. In 2025 and until early February 2026, diplomats were meeting day and night. Iran even offered to let U.S. companies invest in their oil if a deal was made.
That sounds like progress.
It was close, but the U.S. and Israel demanded that Iran totally dismantle its facilities and stop its missile program. Iran refused to give up its missiles and wanted all sanctions gone before they did anything else. By mid-February, when diplomacy seems to be going nowhere, the military took over. Some had said it is the U.S.'s strategy to pressure Iran into a total denuclearization deal, while some said it is the Israel's decision to strike first that forced the U.S. into this war. Regardless of the reason, one thing is clear: any attempt for a peaceful solution had failed.
The news says something happened on February 28th.
That was the flashpoint. The U.S. and Israel launched a massive airstrike. They targeted Iran's leadership and their military sites. It was a very big move, Mia. It even led to the loss of Iran's top leader. Iran has also retaliated with missiles and drone strikes targeting the U.S. military bases in the region and Israel. Both sides hit a pause on April 8, 2026, when they agreed to a temporary ceasefire. However, Iran had choked off the Strait of Hormuz, halting nearly all shipping through one of the world's most vital energy corridors, and the U.S. also maintains a blockade to stop all ships from going to and from the Strait of Hormuz. While they are negotiating for a peace deal, this stalemate has impacted the world's economy, leaving the region stuck in a highly volatile, frozen conflict.
Is there a good side and a bad side?
In history, Mia, everyone feels they are the hero of their own story. The Iranian government feels they are defending their sovereignty against Western bullies. Israel feels it is defending its people from a regime that has promised to destroy them. The U.S. feels it is preventing their enemy from obtaining nuclear weapon capability. The real tragedy is that in the middle of all these reasons, there are millions of regular people who just want to live in peace.
I wish they could go back to being friends, like when you were a kid.
The world is complicated, Mia, but understanding why people are fighting is the first step toward figuring out how to stop.
Grandpa, can I ask you another question?